A brief introduction to auto layout. After the simulator launches, you will see that the interface has all the views you added neatly centered as you configured them in Interface Builder. Now go back to the current screen pop-up menu and select iPhone 8 as your simulator of choice. Run the application again and you will notice that, while the views you added are still present, they are not centered as they were on iPhone 8. This is because the labels and buttons currently have a fixed position on a screen, and they do not remain centered on the main view. To correct this problem, you will use a technology called Auto Layout. Auto Layout works by specifying position and size constraints for each view object in a scene. These constraints can be relative to neighboring views or to container views. Select the top label by clicking on it, either on the canvas or in document outline. At the bottom of the canvas, notice the auto layout menus. With the top label still selected, click on this icon to reveal the Align menu. Within the Align menu, check Horizontal in Container checkbox to center the label in the container. Then click Add One Constraint button. This constraint guarantees that on any size screen, in any orientation, the label will be centered horizontally. Now you need to add more constraints to center the lower label and the buttons with respect to the top label and to lock the spacing between them. Select the 4 views by command-clicking on them one after another, and then click this icon to open the Add New Constraints menu. Click on Red Badge in Document Outline and add Missing Constraints for all of the items until no error badges appear. Build and run the application on both the iPhone 8 simulator and the iPhone 11 simulator. The labels and buttons should be centered on both. Auto Layout can be a difficult tool to master. By starting early, you will have more chances to use it and get used to its complexity. Making connections. A connection lets one object know where another object is in memory so that the two objects can communicate. There are two kinds of connections that you can make in Interface Builder: outlets and actions. An outlet is a reference to an object. An action is a method that the user can interact with. Let's start by creating outlets that reference to the instances of your label. Time to leave Interface Builder and write some code. In Project Navigator, find and select the file named ViewController.swift. The editor area will change from Interface Builder to Xcode Code Editor. In ViewController.swift, add the following code that declares two properties. This code gives every instance of ViewController an outlet named question label and an outlet named answer label. The ViewController can use each outlet to reference a particular URLabel object. The IB outlet keyword tells Xcode that you will connect this outlet to label objects using Interface Builder. Now let's set these outlets. In Project Navigator, select Main Point Storyboard to reopen Interface Builder. In the document outline, find the ViewController object with it. Ctrl-drag from the ViewController in the document outline to the top label in the scene. When the label is highlighted, release the mouse and keyboard. A black panel will appear. Select the question label to set the outlet. Now, when the storyboard file is loaded, the ViewController's question label outlet will be automatically referenced to the instance of your label at the top of the screen. which will allow the view controller to tell the label what question to display. Set the answer label outline the same way. Control drag from the view controller to the bottom UI label and select the answer label. Notice that you drag from the document outline to the canvas. Your outlines are all set. The next connections you need to make involve the two buttons. Creating the model layer. When a UI button is tapped, it calls an action in view controller. Action is a method that contains the code to be executed. Reopen view controller point Swift and add the two action methods after the outlines. Show next question and show answer. The AB action keyword tells Xcode that you will be making these connections in Interface Builder. Switch back to main storyboard. Let's start with the next question button. Control drag from the object to its target in the document outline. Release the mouse button and choose Show Next Question under Set Events in pop-up menu. Now set the Show Answer button in the same way. Notice that you now drag from the canvas to the document outline. There are now 5 connections between the view controller and the view objects. You have set the properties answer label and question label to reference the label objects, 2 connections. The view controller is a target for both buttons, 2 more. The project's template made one additional connection. The view property of view controller is connected to the view object that represents the background of the application. That makes 5. You can check these connections in the Connection Inspector. Select the view controller in the document outline, then in the Utils area, click the tab to review the Connections Inspector. Your storyboard file is complete. Let's move on to creating and connecting your model objects. Add the following code that declares two arrays of strings and an integer. The arrays are ordered lists containing questions and answers. The integer will keep track of what question the user is on. Notice that the arrays are declared using the let keyword, whereas integer is declared using the var keyword. A constant is denoted with the let keyword. Its value cannot change. The questions and answers array are constants. The questions and answers in this quiz will not change and in fact cannot be changed from their initial values. A variable, on the other hand, is denoted by the var keyword. Its value is allowed to change. You made the current question index property a variable because its value must be able to change as the user cycles through the questions and answers. You will want to load the first question from the array and use it to replace the question marks placeholder in the question label. Add this code into view.didLoad method in view controller point Swift. Now that you have questions and answers, you can finish implementing the action methods in view controller point Swift. Update show next question and show answer. Okay, all the code for your application is now complete. Build and run the application on the iPhone 11 simulator as you did earlier. You have built a working iOS app. Play around with the quiz application in the iOS simulator. You should be able to tap the next question button and see a new question in the top label. Typing show answer should show the right answer. Icons and launch. An application icon is a simple image that represents the application on the iOS home screen. While running quiz, select Hardware Home from the simulator's menu. You will see that quiz's icon is a boring default tile. Let's give quiz a better icon. Different devices require different sized icons. We have prepared some icon image files for the quiz application. You are going to add these icons to your application bundle as a resource. In Project Navigator, find the asset file. Select this file to open it, and then select the app icon from the resource list on the left-hand side. This panel is the asset catalog, where you can manage all of the images that your application will need. Drag the quiz icon PNG files from Finder onto the corresponding slots of the iPhone sections. This will copy the file into your project's directory on the file system, and add a reference to that file in the asset catalog. Delete the quiz app to remove its old settings. Build and run the application again. You should see the new app icon. In the Project Navigator, find the asset file. Select this file to open it, and then create a new image set named Launch icon on the left-hand side. Under the Launch icon, drag local image files on it. Then, open Launch Screen Point Storyboard and layout your label object and an UI image object on the center of the view. The label is used to announce the copyright of your app, and the image shows the logo icon. Okay, let's complete it as we did before. And then delete and build the app again. It is difficult to see the results of this change because the launch image is typically shown for a short time. Alright, everything works as expected. Congratulations, you have written your first app and even added some details to make it polished.